E eu gostaria de apresentar para esse tão esperado painel, Fireside Chat with Amy Webb, Staying Present in an Age of Creative Destruction. Eu gostaria de chamar os hosts desse bate-papo. Please welcome on stage Ronaldo Lemos, Brazilian lawyer, specializing in technology, professor, researcher, and TV host. Bem-vindo, Ronaldo. I would like to welcome on stage Thiago Camargo, Executive Vice President at Invest São Paulo. Bem-vindo. O palco agora é de vocês. Welcome.
Bom dia. Okay. Ronaldo, eu vou começar em português aqui, porque é a maior parte da nossa audiência. E agradecer a presença. O Ronaldo é um grande amigo e um ídolo pessoal. Já por algum tempo, há 10 anos, cara. Estou pensando, a gente se conheceu em 2016.
É verdade.
Então, Ronaldo, antes de dar bom dia, eu já vou começar a fazer uma pergunta difícil para você, para preparar aqui, né? E aí, na introdução, ontem, né, com o fim do Trend Report, muito se falou do possível colapso da sociedade e já se começa pedindo uma espécie de regulação. Regulação é algo que no Brasil você sempre teve na fronteira. E aí, nesse sentido, quando a gente regula inteligência artificial, dados, plataformas, a gente está protegendo a sociedade ou a gente está criando um espaço para os incumbentes que conseguem pagar por esse compliance? A regulação hoje, ela está redistribuindo o poder ou ela está acabando sendo um impeditivo para a inovação?
Cara, excelente. Primeiro, pessoal, bom dia, obrigado por estarem aqui, tá? Queria tranquilizar vocês que a gente só vai falar por 5 minutos, tá? Não se preocupe, a Amy Webb está ali atrás, ela já chegou, não estamos enrolando vocês. Então, eu vou responder em 1 minuto a sua pergunta, tá? Eu acho assim, é um tema para a gente levantar com ela, mas precisamos lembrar que os Estados Unidos não têm regulação praticamente de IA, e a China também não. A China, o pessoal fala, tem lei de IA, não tem lei. Lei em chinês é falu. O que eles regulam é por meio de um negócio que chama jianzi, que é políticas públicas. Então, é meio coisa leve, baseada em princípios. E China e Estados Unidos não têm regulação e, por coincidência, são as duas maiores lideranças em inteligência artificial. Para mim, o risco maior que o Brasil corre é a gente não desenvolver capacidades locais de IA e isso gerar uma dependência para sempre de modelos externos que vão ser desenvolvidos em outros países. E eu acho que a gente tem que ter regulação no Brasil, mas tem que ser uma regulação olhando para dentro. Não é copiando a Europa, não é importando modelos, é uma regulação que fortaleça a capacidade competitiva do Brasil em IA para que nós não tenhamos dependências. Porque você pode ter uma regulação belíssima e ser dependente de um modelo externo. E eu acho que isso é um risco grave para o futuro do país. Então, nesse sentido, temos que pensar a regulação olhando para dentro e capacidades locais.
Mantendo nisso, você falou de fortalecer capacidade em inteligência artificial. O Brasil ele não é uma potência em semicondutores, mas a gente tem muito espaço, a gente tem energia. Onde você enxerga o papel do Brasil se fortalecendo nesse espaço de inteligência artificial?
Então, eu acho que a gente pode enriquecer com IA por caminhos até paralelos a IA. Um deles é energia. O Brasil tem a matriz mais limpa do mundo. Dados da Câmara de Compra de Energia Elétrica, CCEE, de 2023, o Brasil bateu 93% de energia renovável na geração centralizada. Na descentralizada é 100%, tá? E isso não existe em nenhum lugar do mundo. A média global de energia limpa é 28%, tá? Os Estados Unidos é, inclusive, abaixo disso. Quando você queima energia nos Estados Unidos, basicamente, 80% você está queimando combustíveis fósseis e 20% é renovável. Quando você liga um ar-condicionado na tomada no Brasil, 93% daquela energia é renovável e 7% é queimando combustíveis fósseis. Então, como o IA consome muita eletricidade, você alimentar essa eletricidade com combustível fóssil é a receita para o fim do mundo, né? Então, você vai ter que ter uma busca por energia limpa e renovável. E, obviamente, que essa janela vai durar 10, 20 anos, porque os outros países tendem a chegar lá, seja desenvolver energia nuclear, seja com novas tecnologias como fusão, que os Estados Unidos e outros países estão investindo pesado, mas eu acho que tem uma janela de 10, 15 anos que o Brasil poderia enriquecer se tiver uma política energética bem feita, que respeita o meio ambiente, que respeita o uso da água, também que é fundamental, mas isso pode fazer com que a IA seja benéfica para a gente na largada, tá?
Essa maneira de enriquecer, me lembra, alguns autores falam que a gente está entrando numa era de mercantilismo digital, né? Não mais sobre proteger o ouro, mas para criar mecanismos de proteção e ações geopolíticas para preservar o espaço. Tá?
Interrompemos plantão da Globo. Pam, 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 pam. Amy Webb está pronta. Vamos parar a nossa conversa e chamar a Amy Webb?
Vamos, depois a gente conversa mais.
Maravilha.
So here now with us is the person you have been waiting for. Amy Webb is a futurist, is the author and the killer of the trend report, and we are very glad to have her with us here today.
One or two? Just one.
Yes.
São Paulo just one.
Rio is two.
Yes, yes.
Amy, thank you for stopping by at Casa São Paulo.
Thank you.
As you always say, Casa São Paulo is the coolest place to be in South by Southwest.
It is, and it's huge this year. It's amazing. It's beautiful.
Yes.
Okay. We talked with your guys, and they said that we were okay to throw you some curveballs. So I'm going to start by saying, okay, you killed the trend report. Okay, yesterday you held a funeral. It was unusual, but I was dressed in black for that. What did the trend report fail, or the word just became too fast to be explained by trend reports?
Well, first of all, bom dia. Nice to see everybody. Did the trend report fail? No. Actually, the trend report was extremely successful. And it was so successful that people were using it in their organizations and relying on it, which is fine, but they weren't doing the additional analysis. And the problem with these individual trends is that they help you see what's coming, but they're not the whole story. They're individual points. So we still use trends. I mean, we're still building the models. But for the public, we thought it was important to offer something else. So we killed we killed the thing that we're famous for. But the thing that exists now, I think, is much more important for decision makers, for leaders. It's a much more effective, more powerful tool.
Amy, it's so good to be talking with you. You know that you're a celebrity in Brazil and like people love you, so it's really great to have you
You know why?
here.
I think I know why. It's my hair and my ass, right? I fit right in.
Yeah, well,
Now what are we
what I
gonna?
should say
Whole interview
about
was
that.
gone.
How to follow up with that?
That's creative destruction of this.
Yes, yes, yes. But anyways, I think I have a serious question for you now. But one thing that I really enjoyed in your presentation yesterday, was really great, was the analogy with a storm. So it's something that is coming, it can be harmful, you have to prepare in advance. But one thing puzzled me a little bit, which is a storm feels like something unavoidable, right? So you don't vote for a hurricane. You don't resist a hurricane. You don't do social mobilization against a storm. Do you think it's possible for us to fight against these business decisions and get society together to resist those storms?
It's a good question. We're not saying to resist the storm. So do you have tornadoes in Brazil?
Usually now,
No,
in the
okay.
past, no. But now we're getting a little bit
Okay.
of, yeah.
Okay, where I grew up in the Midwest of the United States, Indiana, so it's very close to Chicago. And we had tornadoes all the time. In fact, there was a tornado last week that went through my town. So when I was growing up, one of the things that we learned in school is how do you look at the sky to look to see what the color is? How do you check the wind? If a storm is coming, what do you do? Where in your house do you go? If you're outside, what do you do? So what I learned how to do as a very young child was what I am now telling business leaders to do, all right? Which is, if it's 28 degrees outside, which I think it might be today in Austin, it's gonna be very hot. Okay, fine, that doesn't tell us very much. And only if the sky is a little bit, that doesn't tell us very much. You have to really learn how to look at the convergence of all of these different weather data points so that you can, you can make an early decision. So the idea isn't to try to fight against the storm or avoid the storm, it's to have information so that you can make decisions. How do you use these convergences? You change your decisions, you accelerate your decisions, you stop your decisions, which is exactly what you would do in a tornado. If I'm outside on my bike and I see all this stuff, I have to make a decision. Am I gonna keep going? Am I gonna lay down in a ditch, right? Am I gonna call, So that's what this is about. Because these storms are, they're stochastic. They are unpredictable. But we also can't just stand around and watch it happen.
Excellent.
I'd like to keep you on this convergence topic. Yesterday, we could infer that by what you said, that disruption now happens more by convergence than for invention. Invention usually redistributes power, but convergence compound power. Are we entering an era of technological advantage becomes irreversible, structurally irreversible?
So unfortunately, I think the answer is yes. So if you look at some of where we are right now with, how about the internet? The internet was both great in some ways and horrible in some ways. It enabled all of this growth from all around the world, and it also enabled people to do really bad things all around the world. There is no way to, I don't know how you stop the internet without turning off all the electricity. It's a hard thing to stop at this point. We have a lot of similar kinds of technologies that are being produced that will become irreversible, which is why the decisions that we are making right now are so important. Because each decision that gets made does have, to your point, a compounding effect over time. And we have an opportunity to make the best possible decisions that we can, but that takes effort. And especially in business and in government, you have to be willing to make some difficult decisions and make good decisions, so you can do the best possible thing.
Yeah, if I may, a quick segue to that. One of the most fascinating parts of your presentation is about the idea of unlimited labor, right? Which is striking, and we are seeing that happening now with robotics, AI agents that are great at doing corporate tasks. And actually, we are seeing layoffs happening. So Block, the company founded by Jack Dorsey, laid off like 40% of their workforce. Yesterday, I was reading at The Verge that Meta is laying off 20% of their workforce, just announced yesterday. Not sure if anyone works from Meta here. I'm sorry to bring bad news to you, but it's an important thing. So do you think those effects will be felt first in the United States, in more advanced economies, or in countries like Brazil, middle-tier countries? Where are the effects? Where is the storm coming first?
So first of all, on the Meta point, so yes, some companies are laying people off because They are, saying that AI can do things that is cheaper, faster, better. In almost every case up until now, where we've seen companies outside of tech, but also now in tech, laying people off, they've hired them back. They've had to hire other people back because it turns out a lot of the AI systems aren't quite good enough yet. They're maybe 70% as good as people. Every publicly traded company wants to reduce their risk exposure, and they want to improve their bottom line. And the easiest way to do that is reducing headcount, because people are expensive. And right now, they would want to do that anyways, but on top of that, there's this idea that AI can somehow do everything better than humans. So there's this additional pressure. So with that being said, and Meta also spent an enormous amount of money on the metaverse.
Yeah.
So some of what they did was make a terrible bet. Okay. What does this mean overall for jobs? This disruption, this unlimited labor, will happen in different places around the world at different times and in different sectors. I think Brazil, to some degree, is somewhat protected because if I think of sugarcane fields, there's no agentic AI that's going to go out and beep, boop, boop, boop. Now you've got your sugarcane. So agrarian economies, which Brazil is still to some degree, there is actually not just some protection, but if you invest in upgrading that part of your economy, that is jobs for people, and it is, better for everybody. I think the United States, because we have so many publicly traded companies where this idea of AI replacing people is so strong, I actually think we're more vulnerable than you are.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
On this unlimited labor topic, yesterday, historically, employment has been the main institution for income distribution and therefore stability. If we don't have employment as this institution anymore, what replaces it?
Yeah, and it's a great question, and it's one of the things that I really am concerned about. So I've lived in a couple different countries. I lived in China, I lived in Japan, obviously I live in the US. And one big thing that is tied to work is healthcare. So, and that's different in China and Japan, but in the US, healthcare is tied to your job. And if you don't have a job, it's very hard to have healthcare. But the other issues are, we've just never had a situation before where GDP is up and unemployment is up at the same time. Meaning an economy can grow with a whole bunch of people out of work.
Yeah.
And we've just never seen that before because human labor has always been the major thing that pushes the economy forward. We don't have any situation set up, like in the United States, that's a healthcare problem because we don't have an alternative. It's not going to be as bad in Japan. But what do you do with a bunch of people who aren't able to contribute back?
Yeah, and this is perfect. I was talking with Carlos yesterday, and he asked me to ask you precisely about what should be the human skills, taking into account all these convergences that you have mapped. What should we preserve? What should we cultivate? How education should change? Like I have a 7-month baby at home. What should I teach my kid, when he's growing up, in terms of skills for growing up in this world that you're describing?
Yeah, that's a great question, and Carlos is going to be just fine. Carlos, I don't know how well you know him. He is brilliant.
I know.
Yes, I know. He's awesome, and it's nice to see you. So what skills? So I have a 15-year-old, and she did not have a phone or any social, and she still has no social media, but she didn't have a phone until a few months ago. The skills that she has that her friends don't have, she has patience. She will keep working to try to figure out problems. She actually does not like ChatGPT or Claude. Yeah, she lives in my house, so she's got access to everything and robots, and our house is full of technology. She's used it a couple times, and she finds it annoying because it doesn't do or think the way that she would do or think. So she's got patience. She has grit. She's out right now. She's camping this weekend, and the place where she's camping, it was 28 degrees Fahrenheit last night. I know this doesn't seem like fine. So what is she going to be for her job in the future? A camper? No, but she is more resilient and has more grit and is more adaptable than anybody else that I know that's her age. That's the kind of stuff that is important. All the skills, knowledge work, work with your hands, all of those things are important, but it's these other intrinsic human values that we are actually starting to give away when we become so reliant on these technologies. It's the over-reliance that is the problem. And so if you can teach your kid how to self-soothe, not be so reliant, use but not overuse, learn how to be self-sufficient. I know that sounds maybe not like an answer, but it is honestly, that is, I think, the most important going forward. I really, really do. Because your job has changed since I first met you. Companies change, the economy changes, and there are a lot of people who just crumble because they can't figure out how to adapt themselves in these new situations. So if you can, and you keep learning, and you're able to continue to push forward, you will be fine. You'll thrive.
Yeah. Okay, but about those skills, yesterday you talked about human augmentation. Are those skills enough to compete with the 8 sleep bed, the exoskeleton with diapers or not? Are we entering a phase where class division are literally written into the human body with CRISPR-Cas9? Those skills, they are enough to compete with those that can afford human augmentation?
Yeah, that is absolutely correct, and that is a problem in Brazil because you've got favelas where this technology is not going, it's going to get there last, if at all. So yeah, I have, one of the things I talked about was my AI-powered bed, which I love. It automatically adjusts, and right now I don't have it, and I am not sleeping well. My husband, who I love dearly, is like a hot potato at night. So without the bed, I'm just sweating because he's producing too much heat, and I'm not sleeping as well. I notice a difference. So, and that's just one of these tools. I wear a connected watch so I can track my heart rate, and I know, I have access to these things, and we're not even talking about permanent changes. So when we talk about editing your genes and rewinding the biological clock, I will have access to that. And some people will not. And it's very possible that 10 years from now, I will literally be a superhuman compared to other people because I have the privileged place of being able to choose and do that. One of the things I didn't say yesterday was, because I was making an economic argument, okay, I wonder if there will be situations where people don't get to choose. And maybe they are being edited for reasons that, in society gets carved up in different ways. And maybe before you're born, you are destined to be in the military. And so you've been edited, or you are destined to be in business, and so you've been edited, and you didn't make the choice on your own.
Yeah, and I completely feel you about missing the AI bed. I usually wear a smart ring, and I forgot to bring it here. So I'm like, am I sleeping well or not? What's happening? And I realized that, oh my God, I'm becoming dependent on that small device, so I better watch out for that. And I think you're very right about pointing this up. And yesterday, the trend report was killed. And have you had the chance to write the obituary in the sense that, can you look back in those many years and see what went right, what did you get right, and what you did not get right. You know, what did the trend report also failed to see that was going to happen. So that would be interesting.
Yeah. So it would have been the 19th year of that report. The trend report started off as an email. And it was an email that I sent to our client. We were tiny back then. To our clients, it was an email PDF thing. It was not designed. It was a Word document that I, exported to a PDF, and it was maybe 30 pages long. And over the years, it got longer, it got more comprehensive, it was designed. And, we have an internal database where we just track all of this, and then we would put it into the report. I would say over the years, we weren't wrong. There were definitely omissions, because we're only so many people, and we do all of it in-house. And, it takes a lot of time. There have been times when outside of the trend report, I've been wrong. We were working with one of our clients on something that had to do with digital payments, and I miscalculated the near-field NFC. It's the thing in your phone that allows you to tap to pay.
Yeah.
I got the math wrong. The way that our methodology, we look at all of these data points and patents and all of these different things to run our calculations, and I made a mistake. And told our client, near-field, that the chips will be in the phones in the next cycle, and they weren't. That's a big mistake. It doesn't happen, luckily, very often, but I'm human too, and I don't think I'm AI yet, but mistakes, every now and then I make them.
Yeah, that's a good line for the obituary, I think. Very at the bottom of the obituary, that's fine, because I think mostly it was a great life for the trend report, so yeah.
But you both left interesting cliffhangers before. Amy talked about the physical changes, the exterior changes, and Ronaldo said he needs his ring to tell him if he had a good sleep.
Crazy.
So I'd like to take this opportunity to jump in about emotional outsourcing, that it was a very provocative idea that you threw yesterday. If machines begin to mediating emotional relationships, the next frontier of technology could be not only productivity, but maybe identity, meaning?
Yeah, so look, if you go back in time, how did AI get built? And the answer is it was built by a very small group of people originally, who made choices about which data, which words, like how to train these systems. Those people were pretty homogenous. They were Americans, they were all men. So as it stands, those early systems didn't represent all of us. And as they grew over time, more information was put in, but again, not super representative of all people, which is why for a long time, we saw all of these terrible examples popping up. Google at one point, was automatically labeling people of color gorillas in photos, and they fixed it right away, but it happened. We are now transitioning into sharing our most intimate thoughts and feelings and fears and anxieties with these systems that were not trained in any way to respond to us when we're doing that. I think if you are somebody who is going through a difficult period and you're relying on an AI system, that is a dangerous situation for you to be in.
Yeah.
Okay, Ronaldo has been writing for the last few years about loneliness as an epidemic.
Yeah.
Emotional outsource would be a solution for the loneliness epidemics, or it would make it worse?
Well, what do you think? I'm curious.
I think it's going to make it worse, much worse, because this is a fake solution somehow. And the things that really matter is something that you talk about, is rebuilding the third spaces. Third spaces are, space number one is your house, Space number 2 is work. And the third space is where you come together to be with other people and socialize, exchange ideas. So in my particular view, I think it can make it worse.
I think that's right. And I love the spaces idea. Look, why do I love São Paulo House every year. I love coming here. Why? Because I get to see all of you, you know, and it's fun to talk to other people and make those.
Yeah.
I mean, you and I talked on Zoom or Teams or whatever, but
yeah.
this is this is totally different because I can.
Much better.
Exactly.
Yeah, yeah.
And so those physical interactions are very important. I think you and I are okay. I look at my daughter, though, and her friends, and they don't feel as strongly about needing to be together in those spaces. So I wonder how that changes things over time.
Yeah, that worries me a lot. Because as you know, Brazil is a sort of a reservoir of happiness, of joy. And I see that technology might change that balance. So we have to think about how do we make technology joyful as well.
That's a good point. Actually, I have a question. So Carnival was just a few weeks ago, right?
Yeah.
Has that changed at all because of technology?
No, it has improved.
Really?
Carnival.
That kind of messes up your argument.
Yeah, but Brazil is a strange place, you know? And I seriously think that in a future in which AI and robots take over the world, Brazil will be extremely important because it's going to be a reservoir of happiness. People everywhere in Brazil, outside of Brazil, they get depressed if they get too much free time. So if you lose your job, you're at home, you don't know what to do. We Brazilians, we love free time, you know. we have unlimited uses for free time. And I think this is going to be extremely important in the future. Not sure what you think about that.
I have sensed that about Brazil. I think that's awesome. You're right. You know, especially, look, in the United States, a lot of us are defined by our jobs. And not everybody has hobbies. And we tend to schedule our fun. So I think you're right. I think in a world which is moving more towards automation and efficiency, the culture of Brazil being not efficient, which I mean in a very positive way, I think you're just potentially set up better. I think in societies where efficiency and speed and productivity are the main drivers, these tools, these technologies are going to push us harder into those directions, probably make us lonelier. I don't see that same thing happening in Brazil, which means you guys may wind up winning.
I deeply believe that Brazil is going to be important in that scenario. Because you have a lot of experience in China as well, right? And China has a work culture which is scary. This idea of 996.
That's
work
right.
9 hours a day, every day, 6 days a week. And the Chinese also are organizing their lives around work. And when you take work away, people are lost.
Right, don't know what to do. That's right.
Yeah.
That's right, and that's a great point. Unlimited labor may force some of this work away. And one interesting thing I've noticed about Brazil is you have a deeper sense of purpose. It's community.
Yeah.
And we don't have that in a lot of other places around the world. So if you take away work, then what purpose is there for a lot of people? Because we don't have that same sense of community and belonging and connecting with each other.
Yeah, and that's why it's so great that you mentioned Carnival, because Carnival is precisely about that. It's this spontaneous, out-of-control social gathering that takes over a huge portion of the country. And I don't see anything like that happening anywhere else. This is very Brazilian.
No, not in a joyful way.
Oh, yeah.
We have a lot of that in the U.S., out of control, spontaneous crowds, but for totally other purposes. Not as fun.
Fantastic, fantastic.
I like seeing you so optimistic about Brazil. Because there's a recent happening. We were talking about Amy's presentation. before the presentation, during the upload, and someone said, okay, Amy told us, Amy asked for everyone to go dressed in black. Will she makes us even more pessimistic than the years before? And I said, well, you get pessimistic after her lectures? And 4 or 5 people, they all looked at me, don't you? And I said, no, because, there are some problems arising with technology, but it can be fixed with better technology, with more technology, and I just love living in the future. But yesterday was different, because yesterday you talked about problems that could not be fixed only with technology, and I know that would be very unfair of my part to ask you how we fix that, but how we fix that?
I started yesterday with the funeral, the eulogy. I ended it on a sermon. And that was intentional, because the way you fix it is you have to believe. You have to believe that you yourself can make a difference. And if you believe that about yourself, then then you can create the future that you want. There's an old story about a giant boulder on top of a mountain. Okay, so imagine a giant, huge boulder on top of a mountain starting to come down, and you're this little village right here, and this boulder is gonna crush your village and kill everybody. Disaster. Okay, one person alone is not gonna run up the mountain and try to hold that boulder from coming down. You don't have the strength. But if everybody finds a pebble, and they pick up a pebble, and as it's starting to come down, they put those pebbles in the right places, you know what happens? That boulder is still gonna come down, but it's not gonna hit you. You're gonna divert it, and it's gonna go over here. What we need is collective action. You are set up well for this in Brazil because you are community-oriented. No one person, the plan is not one person does a big thing. The plan is that we are all looking ahead, and each one of us does our part in some way. And we each pick up a pebble, and we put it, and we talk to each other. So for some of you, that might mean, like if you are leaders in organizations, before you sign up with OpenAI or whatever, and you give away your entire archive, stop and think about what the implications of that are going forward. If you're a policymaker, the pebble that you're gonna pick up, you make it easier for schools and for kids to get the resources they need to learn. That's especially important in Brazil. If you're an economist, if you're somebody in the markets, there's something that every one of us can do, not once, but all the time. It's a community collective effort. And if you're waiting around for one person to do something big, we're gonna wind up sad on the other side of this. We're not gonna solve the problems.
Yeah, and you mentioned about the AI companies, and you talked about the Pentagon and the different issues in that regard about surveillance. And I was a little bit puzzled because what the AI companies pledged to the Pentagon was that there was not going to be domestic surveillance, which is citizens of the United States. What about the rest of us? What about Brazil and other countries that basically subscribe to Anthropic or OpenAI, Gemini? Are we vulnerable to surveillance all the time? What should we do?
The answer is yes, you are vulnerable. But what do we do? Look, nobody has to use any company or any tool. We can say, if you want to keep working with us, these are our conditions. But we have to be willing to do that.
Yeah.
Amy, time is really relative, because I felt that we should have even 2 or more 3 hours of talking.
Yeah.
But for some reason, their watch just zeroed, so we have to finish. And just to finish, I'd like to ask a provocative question. If convergence redistributes power, who becomes obsolete first? Corporations that fail to adapt, governments that fail to govern, or individuals who fail to upgrade?
That's a good question. I think my answer is governments. Let me tell you why. because there's a movement now for extremely wealthy people, and most of them are in the tech space, to start buying small islands and creating special economic zones in other places where they set the rules. And if we start to move into a world where you have established governments, that's the rule of law that we've always, for centuries, like this is the way it's done, and now there's this other thing outside of government capable of making rules and participating in the global economy and everything else, then people might start questioning, what is a government for? And do we even need it? And that, I think, is a potential problem.
Key question. So, ladies and gentlemen, please help me thank Amy Webb. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Ronaldo, a Amy foi, mas a gente ainda tem 10 minutos. Sério? E eu não vou deixar você escapar, porque eu acho que a gente pode fazer uma espécie de decupagem aqui para encerrar.
Fique à vontade para sair, tá, pessoal? Não se preocupem. Tudo certo.
Gente, mas é o seguinte,
não vou ficar chateado.
A hora do Ronaldo custa caro. Então, se a gente tem mais 10 minutos, eu vou aproveitar bastante esses 10 minutos. Ontem, conversando com o Rui, aqui, nosso presidente, eu falei para o Rui, Rui, o Ronaldo é a pessoa mais conectada que eu conheço. Conectada no que está acontecendo, conectada no sentido de fazer a ponte entre os assuntos, e você tem muito essa capacidade. Ontem, o pessoal de mídia declarou que a Amy foi Fukuyama, né, que Fukuyama declarou o fim da história, né, e ela teria declarado o fim do futuro. Você acha que é o fim do futuro? Você acha que é o fim dos Trend Reports? O que você vê acontecendo nos próximos anos?
Não. Primeiro, vamos lembrar que o negócio de fim da história do Fukuyama é um erro que é crasso, né? Ele até ficou famoso por ter proposto isso e depois ficou famoso por ter errado de forma tão feia. E, pessoal, errar faz parte. O Fukuyama está aí dando conferências e falando sobre vários assuntos, e é um cara muito sério. E a gente vê que pessoas muito sérias também erram. Mas o que eu acho que está acontecendo agora é que está mais difícil prever o futuro, né? E, especialmente a ficção científica, que era o lugar que a gente olhava para projeções assim completamente fora da caixa e com uma capacidade até muito impressionante de acertar o mundo que a gente está vivendo hoje, existe ali quase que um esgotamento da ficção, no sentido de você criar projeções de futuro que sejam críveis no momento que a gente realmente não sabe o que vai acontecer. E, para mim, Thiago, o ponto pivotal tem sido a chegada da IA no computador, né, no desktop. Eu não sei aqui quem já usou Cloud Cowork. Quem já usou o Cloud Cowork aqui? Ó, já tem uma galera. A Microsoft lançou agora o Copilot Cowork. O Google vai lançar também o seu Workspace e a OpenAI também deve fazer o mesmo. E nas últimas 3 semanas eu tenho usado essas ferramentas, e a gente até conversou sobre isso, e eu estou muito chocado com a capacidade de projetos que você consegue fazer usando essas ferramentas sozinho na sua casa, inclusive com a ferramenta programando por você. E eu até brinquei que, nesse período desses dias agora, para mim está sendo difícil até sair de casa, porque o custo de oportunidade de estar em qualquer outro lugar que não seja na frente do meu computador trabalhando com essas ferramentas de IA é gigantesco. Assim, eu sinto que eu deveria sair dessa palestra, voltar para o hotel e continuar o projeto com o Cloud que eu deixei parado lá, porque a capacidade de realizar coisas é muito inacreditável. Então, eu acho que isso põe para a gente uma pressão muito grande, que é aprender a usar essas ferramentas. A IA, ela faz com que o nível de trabalho em vários domínios se democratize e que a gente chegue a um lugar que o piso vira o meio. Então, a IA, ela escreve de forma ok, ela exerce a função de um advogado de uma forma ok, ela exerce a função de um arquiteto, de um contador, de um programador, de um médico, de um designer, de forma ok no meio. De modo que, se você é um profissional e você quer ter competitividade, a sua tarefa hoje é ir além do meio, e de preferência, muito além do meio, tá? Porque o meio você já consegue com a IA. Isso põe pressão, especialmente nas pessoas jovens que vão ser contratadas. Porque por que eu vou contratar um estagiário ou um executivo júnior se a IA já me oferece o serviço de forma mediana? O estagiário, para ele ficar bom, ele vai levar 2 anos, 3 anos, 4 anos, e eu poderia, em vez de investir nesse treinamento, contratar uma IA. Então, eu estou muito preocupado com a contratação dos jovens. Eu acho que quem vai primeiro sentir o impacto são os jovens. Isso já aparece nos estudos econômicos, por exemplo, lá do Eric Brynolfsen, do MIT, ele já mostra que a contratação de jovens profissionais é a primeira que está caindo. Então, para o Brasil, a gente precisa urgentemente pensar sobre reskilling, upskilling e cuidar da capacitação dos jovens e dos trabalhadores para a gente preservar a empregabilidade. Porque a pressão hoje é isso. Se o seu nível de trabalho é médio, mediano, você está competindo diretamente com a IA. Então, o seu desafio é tentar ser melhor para que a IA não compita com o que você está fazendo. Então, isso hoje me preocupa bastante, tá?
Tá vendo como nem todos os Trend Reports morreram? Você acabou de fazer um aqui. Mas como hoje é domingo, uma parte interessante de todo meu domingo, Ronaldo, é ler o já era, já é e já vem. Então, eu queria encerrar dessa forma aqui com você. Com tudo isso que a gente tem discutido aqui sobre inteligência artificial, sobre o futuro do trabalho e sobre a possibilidade do rompimento do tecido social como um todo por conta da questão do trabalho limitado. O que você acha que já era, já é e já vem?
Então, eu vou pegar o gancho que a gente falou com a Amy Webb, né, que é a pergunta final que eu fiz ali, que ela respondeu super rápido, concordando, que é essa coisa da vigilância por modelos estrangeiros. Na minha opinião, o maior risco que o Brasil corre hoje é a gente ficar dependente desses modelos feitos fora do país. Por que isso é arriscado? Primeiro, a questão de vigilância. Tudo que você estiver fazendo pode, sim, eventualmente acabar sendo usado contra o seu interesse, porque o pledge das empresas é não vigiar cidadão dos Estados Unidos e não tem nenhum tipo de promessa com relação aos cidadãos fora dos Estados Unidos. E a segunda coisa é que, e se esses modelos começarem a incluir nos seus modelos de treinamento um viés de favorecimento do país que origina o modelo? Então, por exemplo, você vai revisar um contrato, a IA percebe que, eventualmente, a empresa com quem você está negociando é dos Estados Unidos, e aí, levemente, ela inclui coisas muito sutis, quase imperceptíveis, que favorecem a visão daquele lugar. Então, você vai analisar uma cláusula lá, aí vai falar, não, pode aceitar essa cláusula aqui, que é totalmente padrão e comum, e é uma cláusula que, eventualmente, no agregado, acaba favorecendo isso. Isso não está acontecendo agora, tá? Eu não tenho nenhuma evidência de que isso acontece, apesar de que isso apareceu num estudo da Anthropic, tá? Que, ao fazer cenários, eles falavam lá de modelos que privilegiariam o interesse nacional dos Estados Unidos, mas estamos no nível especulativo da ficção e da teoria. Mas isso é impossível de acontecer? Não. E, para mim, a melhor forma da gente se proteger contra isso é ou desenvolvendo modelos locais ou usando modelos de IA open source, em que a gente pegue os pesos que foram liberados, retreine o modelo e faça com que o modelo seja rodado no nosso servidor, com a nossa supervisão e assim por diante. É um modelo, por exemplo, que o Vietnã está adotando. E o Vietnã, eu tenho prestado muita atenção lá, até estou querendo gravar a próxima temporada do Expresso Futuro, né? A série que eu faço para o canal Futura, cada temporada num país diferente, a última foi na Estônia, a próxima eu estou propondo para o canal de fazer no Vietnã. Por quê? Um país que está crescendo 8% ao ano, está virando uma potência industrial, em educação está brilhando, vocês terem uma ideia, saiu o último resultado do exame PISA, os 10% piores alunos do Vietnã correspondem aos 10% melhores alunos do Brasil, incluindo as escolas particulares. E o mais importante, tá? Então, fizeram a lição em educação, está bombando o país. Mas o mais importante, o Vietnã já esteve em conflitos armados com os Estados Unidos e com a China. Então, é um país que não tem o menor interesse em se alinhar com esses países com quem ele já teve problemas. E aí, qual é a estratégia deles? Criar um modelo local, um LLM local, baseado em código open source, treinado localmente, justamente para não permitir que essas dependências aconteçam no futuro. Então, eu acho que a gente tem que agir estrategicamente e se prevenir, porque isso, na minha opinião, é um risco sério que qualquer país, sobretudo o Brasil, a gente tem que se preparar para ele.
Ronaldo, obrigado por abrir mão um pouco do seu tempo com a Xanda, o Mateu e o Claude, para estar aqui com a gente.
Obrigado a todos. Nessa hora.
Obrigado a todos que estão aqui. Quero agradecer especialmente aos nossos patrocinadores que fazem isso acontecer, da Ação Itaú, aqui,
obrigado.
Esse é só o começo, tem uma programação fantástica o dia inteiro, então eu espero que vocês possam passar o dia inteiro, porque a Casa São Paulo é uma casa de vocês também. Muito obrigado.
Obrigado, galera. Valeu.